examines it from the standpoints of events and circumstances. And then he grades it according to the positive and the negative things that are happening to him. This is a very small life. This is an entirely limited examination. And such a thing is not living at all. There is no compulsion to live. There is no rule or law which states that one must live in a certain way. But rarely one may wish to examine why is it that they're here, not from the standpoint of purpose or meaning, but from the standpoint of the nature of their daily existence. The human being ends up living his life in order to do chores. Domesticity is, in many ways, a criminal affront against the natural state of a human being. And while from a practical perspective, things do need to be done in order to live in this world, things that may be rather routine, some human beings' imaginations tend to drift towards the possibility of what it may be like to pursue and or explore a life that is uncommon. And commonness is perhaps the gravest error of all. As always, it is never related to what should one do and what is the proper way to live. There are no such distinctions and there are no such definitions. And those who tell people how to live and what is proper and what is correct and what is incorrect and what is right and wrong and what is holy and unholy and healthy and unhealthy, such things only make one into more of a cardboard cutout than he already is. And instead of being his own version of a cardboard cutout, he then becomes perhaps a more proper or healthier version of a cardboard cutout. Rarely does one examine, but the rare person does. What is his life? What is it that he does every day? Not that he should be doing something different. Not that he should be doing more of this or less of that. But what is the difference between the way he is living now and having already died? The human being is alive only in a clinical sense. But it is the human being who searches for a life that is beyond simply the clinical, that has a possibility. A person wakes up, he does chores, he or she works, makes money, buys things, makes deals, carries out his or her responsibilities. Then the day ends. Then one retreats to a bed and goes to sleep. and does it again the next day. And a cosmetic way to view what was just said would be to say that one should have more fun, and one should take more breaks, and one should take more vacations, and one should live a happier life and not be so work oriented and gain more work life balance. But in looking at it this way, that would just be more chores. Taking a break from something implies that the thing that is being taken a break from is not worth doing. And taking a break to do something pleasurable is simply a short-lived treat. And if one recognizes that he or she, within moments or days, is about to once again return to the doldrums, of what use is the break? It is simply a prolonging of the inevitable. So work-life balance and all of these things are once again an example of society's ways of putting band-aids and plastic patches on things. The real questions are never asked, and the real things are never explored. It would be incorrect to assume that what is being said is that one should live his or her life, that one should gain more happiness. Whatever one gleans from this, they glean. Whatever the words create inside of a human being, they create. There is no prediction of what they might create, and there is no hope that they should create X or Y. These words are simply being spoken. The rare person examines his life not in order to improve himself, but because he finds that something is forever missing. And something is missing in everyone's life, and it's the same thing. And giving that thing a name may be a matter of debate. But whether one is rich or poor, famous or unknown, the thing is missing in everyone. Therefore, a serious person examines what that thing is, not to give it a name, but because he cannot help but to examine it. To follow prescriptions of betterment and to improve one's outlook and to better one's habits, these are all swirling muddy water. For while they may provide an uptick in the number of doses of perhaps happiness that one may gain, no sooner do they arrive than they are gone once again. The world tells the human being what he should and should not do. And because the human being spends his life following these tenets, ideals, concepts, and prescriptions, he or she never truly has the occasion or the intent to explore their life. Not from the standpoint of success and not from the standpoint of gain, but in order to discover the essence of things. in order to discover a cure for things, in order to discover a permanent way out of the confusion and the misery and all the sufferings that are replete within a human being's life. There is nothing to do, and there is nothing that one should learn. For to do and to learn implies an ulterior motive, and the ulterior motive is forever short-lived, therefore it has no currency. The land of sincerity provides no definitions, and the land of seriousness contains no prescriptions. Questions may be asked, the questions that are asked that relate to how-to, or disguised as a how-to, will certainly not receive a response, but a rare question tends to elicit a response, and if it does, it does. And if the question does not, on its own terms and of its own quality, elicit a response, then the person will be sent back to the audience. This is not a reprimand. There is simply nothing to say. If you are invited to the stage, you may ask your question. I will state that if you are not familiar with, there's a great hesitation to call it my work because it does not emanate from me. It comes from somewhere beyond, through me. But those who are not familiar with it will perhaps have far more confusion than solace. They are welcome in the room, but they will likely not have the self-vetting to ask a question which will receive a response. Having said that, sometimes innocence is often powerful in its own right.
Will the Falcons win the Super Bowl ever in my lifetime? Please tell me.
Hey Kapil, thanks for having me on. So basically, I've seen some of your videos online and interviews and stuff, and I've heard you talk about like moving to ulterior motives and how the
I'm
ulterior
not sure. I'm not sure if you've seen. Do you mean a video interview?
an interview on YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, that was not me. If you've heard audio,
Yeah, no.
there.
Sorry, not video, not video. Audio on the Arrival podcast. I think it is on the Arrival one.
Yeah, I'm not sure because sometimes I think there's another person by the same name,
Yeah, no,
and
yeah, I've seen it.
others have asked me about that. He's the gentleman is, forgive me, but sort of bald.
Yeah,
And
no, I've
yeah,
seen him. Yeah, I've seen him.
okay.
Yeah,
I
the
was
one.
I was just clarifying just to make sure.
No, no worries. I'm speaking about, I think, a video of yours where it was like a podcast or so, from the PGA Tours, when you're talking about um, the person who comes to the golf course looking for an ulterior motive or looking for win, looking to win, has already failed, or something along those lines. So I'm in business and I'm always moving towards goals, and the main thing that I'm trying to accumulate is financial success. And sometimes in the businesses I'm building, I'm asking myself, um, because there's an ulterior motive, because I'm looking for financial success, no matter how honest the business I'm building is that the hindrance towards me actually reaching that goal? And that's
Well, it is about honesty, and it must be stated that honesty is not a good thing. It is simply it. There's no rule. There's no morality. But if one is dishonest, they pay a price. Um, so it is honest to say that the reason that one builds a business is to make money. So there is not there. The difficulty comes when people tend to create rules out of my words, and they try to create prescriptions and turn them into some ideal to follow. And there is no right or wrong. And if one wishes to make money, then he wishes to make money. Um, it is far more honest to say that than it is to pretend that one is not. And so I think what you may not understand the answer to this question, and which happens a lot of times, is that a person asks the questions and the truth is given to them, but they didn't have the ears to hear it, therefore they ask it again. And I'm not going to respond again. So I will tell you that here's the truth about what you're asking, and that is that, and you may not have the ears to hear it. I don't know. You'll find out for yourself. The truth about that is that whether you come to win or not, uh, if you do, then you do. But to try to subvert and to try to deny that, or to try to say, well, that's against the rules, therefore I must stop that, um, that will lead you to more problems than straight honesty.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to the stage. What is the truth behind feelings of loneliness? Thank you.
The attempt to stop being lonely, to have other people around, in order to lessen one's loneliness, will only provide temporary relief. The truth lies in the fact that every human being is alone. They are simply under the guise and under the pretense that they are not.
Hello, Kapil. Thanks for having me on. My question is, when you do come across the rare individual who's serious and is doing everything they can to reach their higher self, how do you differentiate these people from, the window shoppers or things like that? How do you know when you're dealing with the real deal? Is it the eyes? Is it the voice? Is it the work ethic? What's the distinguishing factor?
Well, I don't try to make that distinction on purpose. I mean, if I'm working with a private client, that's, first of all, they would not be accepted until that was clearly demonstrated. And if it's someone in the public, I don't. It's very clear. I mean, I'm not really interested if they're serious or not. It doesn't have any influence on me one way or the other. If they're serious, not serious because of me. They're serious because being serious will get them somewhere. So it's all about them, not about me. But unserious people are basically almost everyone, and they're searching for prescriptions and how-tos, and they're completely lost and attached to the culture.
May I ask a follow-up question?
Okay.
If you were a serious person that had isolated yourself from society and did what you needed to do to evolve, how would you go about reintegrating yourself to quote unquote fit in once you've already made the necessary time away to evolve?
I mean, there's no how-to. Firstly, there's no reason to isolate oneself from society, and the reason that is said is because people are very, very prescriptive in the most clever ways, and so they will isolate themselves from society so that they think that does something. And if it's a natural isolation, that's one thing. If they do it in order to prove to themselves that they are not a part of society, they'll just be thinking about societal things while they're isolated. And there is no reintegration. Wherever one is, one is.
Thank
Hello, thank you for having me. My question is, when you're uh, like addicted to a substance or whatever in life, what is your take on how to change yourself and be better, and what's the best way to do it?
I cannot really provide advice about that because that's a very multifactorial and involved topic. I cannot just tell someone, well, go do this. But I will say that the very desire to no longer be addicted to something is perhaps the greatest factor which determines whether he ends up succeeding in becoming detached from it or not.
Hi. Do all our actions in life stem from desire?
I mean, that's a very academic and broad question. That's a question that is asked from arm's length. Ask what you really want to ask. Don't dress it up.
Okay. Are there any selfless acts? Can we do things without that aren't selfless?
And why would that matter, whether there is or not? I mean, let's say tomorrow that you did a selfless act. So what? How is your question anything beyond academia? How
I'm
is it
just
personal? How is it life affecting? How is it that you're drowning and you need to keep your head above water? The worst questions are the academic ones. That's why intellectuals have no chance.
so would you say that what you're doing is based on desire or not?
I have no idea why I do what I do. The words are simply being spoken.
Do you
This is
do
turning into a
things that
discussion.
Hey, hi Kapil. I want to get some understanding on the subject self. So I've been studying this subject Vedanta, and I understand that
Hi, Kapil. Hi, Kapil. So it's a slightly long question and a personal one. Basically, these kind of questions, what is God and what is the meaning of life, they started happening to me when I was like 10, 12 years old. I don't know why. I didn't.
Hi, Kapil. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Hi, Kapil. This is Frederick. I was wondering, when it comes to your work in all various forms, does it have any purpose what's being written, or is that only going to interfere?
I don't know what you said because you broke up.
You, when I'm exposing myself to all your different work in all various forms, does it have any purpose to think about what's being explored, or can
Well,
that be only?
what I will say is this: um, when you read the words, you may think you understand, and in some cases, you may very well understand. Um, but it would be wise that when you read the words, or when you hear the words, to bring with you a very intense possibility that what you think is being said is not what is truly being said. That simply the words at face value, that something perhaps far beyond what you think is being said.
Hello. So my question essentially is, do we construct our morality based on the ethics that are present in the society, or the construction of morality is innate to a person?
There is no morality or ethics. Those are societally created phenomena.
Hi. What are questions I can ask myself so that I can become my own teacher?
I cannot give you the questions to ask yourself. It is the investigation of one's own level of sincerity or seriousness without the compulsion to feel that they should be sincere or serious.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. My question was simple that thus one's success can be defined on the basis of how much money they accumulate or on the basis of how much.
Hello, I want to ask, who are you? Thank you.
Hey, hi Kapil. Am I audible?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I have a very simple question. Why do we have seat belts on planes and not on buses? I mean, if a bus crashes into something, all passengers lurch.
Hey, how's it going? Um, I've been meaning to get into Ted Lasso season two, but my experience with season one just isn't like up to what everyone else was talking about the show, and it's a critically acclaimed. It's won a couple Emmys, but
Hello. I have always been amazed at the apparent wisdom of the very old and the very young. Do you think this is more than an appearance?
Who cares? Every human being is suffering in their life in various forms. And while there is no compulsion for them to explore their suffering, this is not being recommended. They tend to find every way to waste their lives even further by asking things which have no instant relevance to their life. It literally is like a person who is drowning, but they're worried about their acne because they want to avoid the drowning, and not that they should face the drowning, but it is an illustrative example of how skillful human beings have become at wasting their time and their lives.
Sede Namaste. I know that you interact with many people in the high level of society. My question to you is regarding the truth. When they're looking for the truth, what's the difference between the CEOs, athletes, and artists, the top of them, and the difference between the average citizen when they're looking for the truth?
All human beings are the same. One's real worth comes from one's level of sincerity and seriousness. It is the sincerity and the seriousness which determines where they go in their life, not how much money they have, not how famous they are. That sincerity and seriousness is between them and them.
Hi, Kapil. Thanks for adding. This is a question that bothers a lot of us youngsters, especially me, but you haven't spoken much about it. It's about sexual obsessions and fantasies and
Hi, Siddha. Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. How do I get a gym body without going to the gym?
Hello. Are you a GPT-3 algorithm trained on the annihilist teachings of Jiddu Krishnamurti?
What do you think determines someone's value?
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
How do you love yourself?
Hi, can you hear me?
If you're invited on stage, ask your question.
Hi. On rare occasion, when I'm in nature, in silence, sometimes it feels like ancient words of wisdom come through in audible format, but in my mind. And I was wondering, what is that?
Hello, I have one question. What if we are living in a dead world? Like, we can see the people who are alive and we can only see who are dead. Thank you.
It only matters if you're dead or alive.
How does one evade the constant cycle of despair, followed by motivation, achievement, destruction, self destruction, and then despair?
If you have a how-to question, you're best to lower your hand.
Hi, I want to know what exactly are you smoking today?
Hello. I had listened to one of your discourses one time where the the you had inquired who the thing that I truly am was, and you had engaged with that. And in that moment, when I was standing in the bathroom, and I listened to that, I was without any socialized or um, I was without any socialized way of thinking about the world or feeling things, and I felt completely devoid of regarding things the way I do. And ever since then, I've been trying to, well, not even trying to, it's not even been my choice, to reduce all of the thoughts that I have, the decisions I make, the relationships I have, down, down, down until I can't seem to understand what the true engagement would be in the socialized world, that I can only ever pursue the truth. But when I try to engage with the being that I truly am, it can only be posed as a prescription to myself. And so when I
No,
try to do that, I
the
can't engage
person,
with it.
the person of truth can only walk alone.
I understand.
No, you don't.
What is the absolute truth?
Hi, I just had a question. How do you do what you do?
I don't understand the question.
How do you go about coaching people?
I don't coach anyone.
What do you do?
I don't know. It happens.
I'm audible.
Hi. My question is, what do you mean when you say that peace happens when you become out of mind? Like it's through no mind? Like I don't really understand how one could exist
Well,
without.
what you have, first of all, two things. Number one, you seem to have picked something out of one of my discourses. I don't remember anything that I write, or very rarely. Therefore, you've asked me something out of context. I have no idea what you're referring to. Number two, I believe that you said, I don't understand how, with no mind, XYZ. It isn't my place to make you understand. And these are things that are very, very deep.
Yeah, audible. I wanted to ask that while you're being effortless, while you're following the truth, while you're impulse to do it and not just prescribe, does
Why do I keep wasting my life, even though I've noticed over and over again how miserable it makes me?
It's a question for yourself.
Okay.
I keep seeing this number 1111 quite often.
What do you get out of being on Clubhouse?
Nothing.
Hello. So you make truthful statements where you state things the way they are, whereas
almost every single other person I know states things the way they should be. So, in the journey towards understanding where things come from, the source, as opposed to how to do it, what does one obtain and what does one remove by stating things the way they are? Thank you.
I'm not interested in what it does for one. I'm not sure what you're asking.
Okay, now, what role, how important is it in terms of finding the truth, basically?
Well, if you ask that question, that means you're not ready for the truth.
Hi.
Masha, good evening. When you know there is a constant exposure to truth, we get to know about a particular thing, we arrive at a particular place. Uh, what do you mean by that constant exposure, sir? Is that I always is that I always be in a no? I always imbibe myself where the goals are, where I want to arrive, or the system where I want to arrive. What is that, sir? Constant exposure to truth. What does it mean, sir?
Are you constantly exposed to air?
Sir?
Are you constantly exposed to air?
Yeah.
Okay. So are you doing anything about that?
No.
Okay. That's what exposure means. Exposure means constant exposure to words or dialogues or discourses or whatever it may be.
Okay.
That is absolute truth.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for hosting this. I'd like to say that sometimes I let anger get over me and it just happens. And I feel really bad afterwards. Like, I should have not done it. It's unacceptable, but it just happens. And do I have to accept that as a reality? Is there any other alternatives to this?
No, there's no prescription for that.
All right, thank you.
To pursue the attempt to become less angry will only lead you further down into illusion.
Uh, Good morning, sir. So my question here is, I know clarity comes from inside, but is it okay to just search clarity from outside at times when you are not, you when you feel connected? Certain times, certain spiritual, messages comes to you and all that. But still, when you're not completely clear on certain aspects, is it okay to search the side, or clarity only comes from within?
I am certain that you've attempted to search for this clarity outside before. Is this correct?
I'm not able to clearly understand what you're actually asking me. Can you repeat that again?
I am certain that you have attempted to obtain this clarity from the various sources outside before. Is this correct?
Yes.
Okay. So, did you find it?
To certain extent, in certain aspects, I can have clarity, but yet not in all the aspects or all the questions that I'm searching for.
Okay, so the if you have looked outside and you have not found it, then of what value is it to ask if it is okay to keep looking outside?
Hey, Siddha. Thank you for bringing me up. What is the deepest desire that you've had in your life?
Hello, Sita. Is life purely phenomenal or purely intellectual?
Namaste, Dr. Kapil sir. I wanted having followed your work for a few years and also having seen a lasting impact of it on my life. This is something that I encounter rather frequently. I have noticed that after going through your work, I developed these new insights. However, on being confronted with reality, I find myself having a lack of clarity on the necessary aspects of the implementation of it. So I wanted to understand from you, where am I going wrong?
There is no implementation. You are prescriptionizing my words.
If one has exposed themselves to your work and the forms that they have available to them and found some additional suffering as it's broken pieces of his life, yet they don't find the sincerity to change or to consistently pursue truth, is that individual doomed?
I think you can answer that question for yourself.
Um,
Good evening, Kapil. After years of being like very goal oriented, trying to be helpful to family and friends, and try to be, useful for people around me, and so that was a way of living that put constant pressure. And now that it's been maybe 6 months or that I kind of separated uh, completely from everything that I had before. It's like now life, I feel like it is a huge weight that has been lifted. I feel ridiculous when I get up and I don't have worries. And it feels completely different. As much crazy that that I feel like if I get up or not get up, it wouldn't really change anything, and that makes me like free, and I make me like laugh at how stupid I was before. Uh, I don't know how long I'm gonna live, but is that feeling of really not being useful and not needing anything and not needing to interact with anybody and not do anything really important, any, like is that a mind-made thing, or is that a natural state of being that I am experiencing? Is that
I think the natural states of being arise when one has an understanding of the truth. And when one does not have an understanding of the truth, then the person begins to live according to concepts. And when a person begins to live according to concepts, then that big person begins to judge himself or herself according to whether or not they are following the concepts or not, and therefore they become good or bad in their own eyes and in the eyes of society. So this is not for me to tell you that the way that you are feeling is correct, and that is proper, and that is the right thing to do.
mm,
It really comes down to you searching inside of yourself to discover if these things are the natural occurrence within you based upon the things that you have understood, and if they are, then they are. But as soon as you harden it into something which says that good for me, I'm doing the proper thing, then the floor falls out from beneath you.
Hi. You said something earlier where you mentioned the person of truth can only walk alone. So I'm wondering. I don't know why it just spoke to me. So I'm wondering, what is the person of truth? I understand honesty. I understand speaking truth or thinking truth. But
Well, a
what do you
person of
mean?
truth, a person, there's no dictionary definition, but when from a just in this vernacular, what I'm speaking about, a person of truth is an individual who is sincerely, um, not and unconditionally and non-prescriptively, um, without the banner of self-help or self-development or the poison of spirituality, is for whatever reason devoted to discovering the truth.
Hi. So I just want to know if what happens after death,
Hi, I just want to know, why does the mind seek pleasure?
It's a very insightful question, but one that is very deep and very complex to simply provide a response to in this forum.
Hello, Siddha. My question is, so I believe what I see is what my mind creates. So if I change how my mind sees the reality, with my own form of reality, my mind can change much. And if it does, would that help me a lot to reach the truth?
No.
Thank you.
Hi, Kapil. I just wanted to ask a quick question about the relationship between pleasure and pain. I know you always say that where there's one, there is the other. I guess when do you would you compare what I'm just trying to understand how it works. Let's say if you were to take a drug as pleasure and you feel the high, and is the low after you come down, is that the pain part where you feel that sense of withdrawal from not having that pleasure, or is the low coming from the fact that you're in the pursuing of pleasure, you make yourself unhappy until you get that gallop or that moment. Uh,
There are all kinds of pains. You've just mentioned a couple of them.
Hello, I have a question. So, do you think that people really enjoy pleasure?
Hello, Kapil. Um, I've been reading your work for the past 3 months, and before that, I've read Osho's work since I was 17. I'm 23 now, and whenever I read these Osho's works and your works, I've seen truth, yeah, and I was able to resonate with whatever was said. It was only when I read your work that I had a deeper understanding of the truth, and what I had a much deeper understanding of the truth from your work. And this realization, which had always been there, it hit me even deeper. That the mind is a constant chatterbox, and it just doesn't end. One thought after the other, one thought after the other, and I really don't see. I don't see an end to this. Like, because it's been long, and I really don't see an end to this. It's just it's a very 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 um, I wouldn't say painful, but it's just not the way to live life.
Okay.
Thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Gupta. I feel like I have arrived at very few truths about the society myself, or if not, very close to arriving at those truths. And when I see you talking about certain truths about society, sometimes I feel like maybe I'm using it as a justification to arrive at an end to my process. It's just an inexplainable kind of feeling. So my question is, how do we, the exposure to the truths that happens from going through your work, how do we receive it? Or does
There is no how.
getting exposed to certain
Whatever,
truths?
whatever, whatever. Do you drink water?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a how? That once the water enters you, that you must do something about it?
Hey, Kapil, thanks for bringing me on. I wrote down my question because I'm already kind of anxious right now. My question is, what's the truth behind the anxiety which takes over my mind before starting the easiest of tasks like cleaning my room or doing my taxes, despite knowing that there's no one to
Yeah, it's
judge me?
perhaps one of the most pervasive diseases of mankind is anxiety. Um, Perhaps the more insidious disease is trying to find a how out of it. No, there is a cure, but it does not come in the form of a how.
Hello, Siddha. I want to know if there is no how and there just is, then whatever is happening, whatever it just is. Everything is complete within itself, no matter what is happening in the moment.
I think that these are things that you're talking yourself into. I don't believe you have a real question.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm curious if you believe in any kind of universal design, life path for individuals, that what's come into their life has kind of come there because it's who they are, or at their core. Maybe I'm not asking it in the best possible way, but maybe you have thoughts towards what I'm saying.
Perhaps the best thing would be for you to examine your own experiences and to compare the things that happened to you to see if those things were complementary to you, and if the things that happened to you that seemed random, that there was a system, some system to the randomness, that even though things that happened to you apparently randomly, they tended to provide some sort of effect. That would be perhaps the wiser pursuit than to ask it as an academic question.
Hello, Kapil. So I have a question. Recently, I broke up with my girlfriend, and I know that every relationship brings more pain than joy. And I realized that it's for myself, it's true, and it's every times in the end, it's only pain. And I heard one of your thoughts like you should find it in within, but I feel so empty and I can't find anything in within. I mean, I understand that you can't give me like the answer. I just there is the way I mean armor your heart, like it's so fragile. And I like one of the thoughts like the state alone but not lonely. And it's just the thoughts. I'm sorry for my bad English.
Hello, Kapil. I wanted to ask that in many of your discourses, you have said that whenever you try to tell something, it gets tainted. You don't have to uh, say that. And what I have come to understanding that whenever a human being tells another human being something, the shared realities and experiences will be totally different. They will not be same for the both human beings. So does that comply with the universal truth too? Like if you are explaining us the truth, uh, will the universal truth be the same for us when we reach or experience that?
If the truth is stated, then that has a way of, for a given individual, finding a place within them. It does not mean that it will. It does not mean that it won't. And in whatever form that happens or does not happen, it is an organic thing.
Hello. All the problems that I have in my life, is it me who has the problems or is it my mind?
It is one of the central truths to learn that one is not one's mind.
What is the emergence of societies caused by?
If one is not one's mind, who are they?
Who am I?
Can truth itself be used for me to decide whether to get vaccinated or not?
Hello, Kapil. And be free of a problem. Does it require, does it matter for the cause of the problem to be known? To give you some context. So over the years, I felt like
Well, you already asked the question. Just ask that question to yourself. It's fairly straightforward. The only thing that hinders you is the conditioning of society, which teaches people to look for solutions.
What is light and how do I trust it?
Hey, how's it going? So, I was curious, what are your thoughts on seasons 1 and 2 of Ted Lasso?
Is it serious?
Hello, sir. So my question is,
Since childhood, I have been around creating videos and creating photographs. And as I started my career, I felt, yeah, maybe this is the calling that I should be going ahead with.
How do I get back down to the audience?
Hi. So I have a question. I've actually worked on meditation myself, and my whole life I've struggled with anxiety. Um, During anything, whether it's a relationship.
My question is, why are we in the earth? Why are you in the club house? What's the purpose? Thank you.
Can synchronicity be used as a tool for discernment and decision making?
Hi, Master. Thank you for your time. Um, my question is basically, I'll give you as a quick background. Just growing up, I've experienced a good amount of abuse, like emotional abuse, verbal abuse mainly, and a bit of physical abuse from my father. The physical, I mean, I know it's a bit. Anyways, I'm 26 now. The first 18 years of my life was pretty crappy due to how he was in the house. And how he treated my mother and all this. And I guess my question is, I'm 26 now. I'm fairly independent. Rather relatively successful product designer in tech and all this stuff. And I have a talent at it. And I've been listening to your work. I've been reading your work and listening to your work for quite some time now. And intellectually, I understand that everything I think about with him, about like how he treated me in the past and all this. And I still think about him daily because me and him really don't speak. We haven't spoken in about a decade. Well, a little less than that. And intellectually, I understand that all this memory, all this thought about me and him is all in my mind. And I know it's not really me, and I know it's not really real. This is all just past. And I guess I get frustrated and a little fed up because when I'm alone, like, if I'm driving alone and stuff, this anger comes out of me and I kind of, manifest in different ways, but it comes kind of against him in a way because of all the unfair treatment and all this stuff. And again, I understand intellectually this is all just fake.
A human being does not know why the things that happen to him happen to him. To the human being looks at things very simply. Either he looks at things from the standpoint of someone did something to him, or he looks at it from the standpoint of he should forgive.
Right.
The truth is, you don't know why these things happen to you. No human being knows why these things happen to them. The truth is that you live in pain and you live in suffering because of it.
Yeah.
So therefore, it is not about him. It is about the hesitations that you have to stop blaming him. Therefore, in the end, your greatest problem is an imprisonment by your own ego. The modern day society has devolved in ways that perhaps nature could not have even predicted. The things that become fashionable in society, and if one had a litmus test, and if one created an experiment in which whatever society did, they would deny it, one would obviously be well suited to do that experiment on their own and examine the results for themselves. But one thing can be stated for certain, and that is that if one follows society and its fashions and its dogmas, it will ruin their life. And that's why every human being's life is ruined. It has become fashionable to blame parents. It has become fashionable, and it is almost considered shameful to either live with one's parents or speak well of parents. And this is not a surprise, because everything that is holy and everything that is of a divine nature and everything that is even semi-pure cannot survive in the plastic soil of society. Only false things can survive in society. No human being in a non-realized state is perfect. And in every relationship setting, and particularly in the family setting, there are an enormous number of mistakes that are made from all members of the family. And while it can be stated that the children are the most innocent, particularly in the younger years, truth never lies in blame, and truth does not lie in forgiveness. Truth lies in the understanding that one does not know as much as he or she thinks that they know. And perhaps the most practical truth in the most immediate time frame is to turn one's back on all of society's fashions, because society is among the greatest enemies of a human being. And the person who embraces society and its cultures and its flags and its way and its notions and its concepts will suffer endlessly throughout their life.
Hello. Is everything other than yourself society?
Well, take a look inside yourself and see if you have not imbibed society.
Master, I was wondering, now I had a change of vision, and I've known how you've spoken about how Siddha training begins with a vision. But does my change in vision mean I'm straying from the truth?
It's too general of a question.
Hi, do we need to humble ourselves and become less of us to learn, or do we need to become more of ourselves? Also, what are the experiences called where one doesn't humble himself?
Well, oftentimes I have conversations with my younger nephew, and my question is it possible to have a worthy conversation with him without levying my conditioning onto him?
Have a conversation and examine for yourself.
Morning. I want to know, how do you deal with the pain of a broken heart?